Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Gary A. Swaby, and you're now listening to the Powercast, and we will be reviewing Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, Episode 4, Don't Sleep. And I'm here with Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. How are you doing, Rich?
Doing good, Gary. What's up, listeners and viewers?
What's up, indeed? And I'm also here with Miss Dana Abercrombie. How are you doing, Dana?
Hello. I am doing great. It's wonderful to be here again.
Okay, nice name there, Starkey Stark and the Starkey Bunch. It's like a tongue
Mm-hmm.
twister. You know? And if you're watching, you can see my name on the screen is Uncle Marvin because he is officially my new favorite character in Power. So all based on this episode as well. So as usual, we're gonna dive into some of our takeaways from the episode, and then we're gonna ask some questions at the end to just kind of go through the subject matter of the episode even more. So I'm gonna go first this week and just dive right into my takeaways for this episode. I don't have too many, but I did really enjoy this episode of Power. I think it's one of the strongest ones in Raising Kanan that we've seen so far. A lot happened, and like when I was watching this, usually I try to take a lot of notes, and I did take notes, but I was also like really entertained at the same time. Like, so it was just an enjoyable experience. So it didn't feel like work at all. So yeah, great episode. So the first thing I wanted to, state for my takeaways is, I'm wondering what's going to happen with Lulu and, the recording studio situation, because like I noticed that obviously Famous was trying to rap in the studio, and he wasn't. He was kind of being a bit of a Tekashi 6ix9ine because he was rapping about stuff that he hasn't really lived. And of course, we have this story playing out with Lulu and Famous's sister. Like we have that romantic, element playing out, and I'm wondering if she's going to basically push him to work with Famous, and it could be a situation where Lulu gives Famous the kind of edge he needs to be a better rapper. And this is how it works in hip hop a lot, actually, like where the rapper isn't actually the street guy, but like the people around the rapper are the real street guys. So I'm wondering if that's an element they're going to explore, with Famous, Lulu, and the sister. And that could still lead to some tension down the road because Lulu is still mixed up in some street business. So I'm sure a lot of drama will come from that also. But yeah, that's just something that stood out to me. I'm really trying to see where they go with that storyline in particular. And my other takeaway is this is real quick this week, by the way, because like I was just amazed by the episode overall, and we're going to cover some more stuff that happened later on anyway in the questions. I have some real specific questions, but my second takeaway is that this week I feel like Marvin showed that he's not just there for comic relief. Like he was about that action. Like when it was time for him to step up, he stepped up, and he took care of Kanan. We saw what he did. To like it was a bad decision to leave Kanan first of all, like by himself at the house. But when he realized that there were people at the house, he immediately switched into action, and he took out those guys outside. He went inside the house, and he managed to take out the other guy like an action hero or something like that. So I was really impressed with that because I thought he's just the comic relief. I didn't think he was really about that action, but clearly he is. And he's also funny too, like the scene with where he was sleeping with the club owner, and she was trying to cuddle him and everything, and he was like, what are you doing? Like, you don't cuddle guys like me, basically. And yeah, that whole dialogue was hilarious. And then he ended up taking the dog off of her as well. So yeah, he just has like different layers. Like he's very comedic, but he's also like serious at the same time. So I really, appreciate that actor and the character overall. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, a lot of other stuff happened, but I'm sure you guys are going to shed some light on some of the other things that will stand out. So I'm going to pass it over to you, Miss Dana Abercrombie. What are your takeaways for this week in Power?
Well, I really particularly still love what's going on with the jukebox and the girl whose name I can't remember at the moment. But I really thought that it shows their relationship and how the parents. Remember, her parents were kind of involved in this episode where they kind of came in and saw them singing, and the guy was trying to be like, "Yeah, I know your people. I'm cool." That whole dynamic, as corny as it was, it kind of did show how they accepted Jukebox, as the friend. And while there are problems with the parents kind of accepting they don't know about the relationship, but accepting their daughter being gay. I know she didn't say it straight out, but she kind of alluded to it. That is going to be really interesting and how that comes into play because, again, we all know where Jukebox ends up. We just don't know how she got there. And it was kind of like the more they really liked each other and the more they showcased the relationship, the sadder I got. Because you just know that it's going to end and it's going to end tragically. And so it was like, I want to see it, but I really don't want to see it. This was really sweet, but this is going to be really sad when whatever happens. When they end up breaking up or someone's murdered or whatever ends up happening. I really like that. Again, when you was talking about Kanan and that whole episode with the stash house, that really showed, Uncle Marvin stepping up and protecting, that's his what do you call it, nephew, the relationship that they have and how ruthless he can be with the whole just killing the people in cold blood. And the whole situation with they ran into the back of the truck and how it was trying to get the supplies in. I really loved just that scene in general because it showed that, we have this really great loving relationship, but this is still hard Uncle Marvin who will kill you at any moment and any time. And they're a family unit, but still keep in mind what they're doing is wrong and it's dangerous, it's illegal. Also wanted to mention the part with the grocery store owner. I really thought that he was going to die this episode because he just kept asking too many questions and he wanted to be too much in the know. I found that to be incredibly annoying. And I was really shocked he wasn't taken out in this episode. We know that I feel that he will definitely be taken out probably before the mid, what do you call it, the middle of the season. Just for too many questions you want to know. Also, there was the scene with Jukebox that really stood out. Her mother is back on drugs, and the whole situation with the rehab. And another thing was her just trying to get money so that she can have studio session, and that's how we end up finding how she probably gets involved more heavily with the drug side of things because she's trying to get the money up. And her family kind of refuses to help her. So I really liked how everyone has their own individual path, but they seem to come together as a unit. And I can't wait to see what happens in the next episode because of how it ended with Raquel discovering that her brother lied to her and discovering that her son even lied to her. There was that whole dynamic with the dinner scene with I can't remember his name. I'm really bad with names, but with the boyfriend and how, that special night of having dinner, even though it was simple as pasta, and how she was saying the dynamic where you never lie to each other or, he doesn't lie or whatever it was. And it really showed, how that relationship is slowly fracturing. And we brought it up in the previous Powercast that we will start to see, Kanan lean towards more of the uncle and break away from from his mother, and how that is going to end up into play with them kind of struggling for, you know, not to say the rule over Kanan, but the struggle for Kanan's, I don't know, what leadership or not leadership, but you know, the struggle to get him on whichever path it is that they're trying to get him on. And she's slowly kind of losing her son. So that's kind of what stood out for me as well. And also the opening sequence with them, with the chasing, and what was it, Joey Badass killing his best friend that he's known for so many years. You know, that really just shows how the game itself, the lifestyle, there's really, I'm not going to say loyal, there's really kind of no loyalty, you know, and how it also shows this crack epidemic and how it was easy to, you know, anyone can fall into it. You know, he was just getting high on his own supply, which kind of reminded me of, we had a New Jack City feel. You know, remember the whole "Am I my brother's keeper" part, and you know the part about the other guy getting addicted to the drugs he was supposed to be selling, and that he was cutting it to kind of give him less money. So yeah, I like the episode as a whole.
Oh yeah, there was definitely a lot of moving parts, and I agree with what you said. Like, it feels like every character has like their own kind of thing going on, which is good to see, because it's like they're not just placeholder characters that just show up, you know, when they need to. Like they actually have like, you know, their own living, breathing lives outside of like, you know, the main characters and stuff. So that's good to see. But Richard, how about you? What's your main takeaways from this episode?
Well, yeah, so a lot of great takeaways so far. I only have 3 that I'm really going to dive into. First and foremost, first main takeaway from this episode, we've already said it. I want to reiterate it again. Joey Badass is an excellent actor. Because if you recall the previous episode, we only saw him one time, and that was towards the end of the episode when he found out that the corner is no longer, you know, his people are no longer on the corner. So this episode, they made a point to have him throughout most of the episode. If I could give a definition or a description of it, it kind of made me feel like The Dark Knight, and how you had Heath Ledger's Joker, who was a menace throughout the entire episode, throughout the entire movie, pretty much the real star of the movie, in my opinion. But in this case, with Joey Badass, yes, he was every action he did, it was throughout this entire episode. So I thought that was excellent, very well done. And we knew that there had to be some retaliation. As Dana pointed out, he killed his one of his best friends. The guy's name is Trez G. And yeah, it goes to show, yes, that he will do whatever he needs to do. Now, what we did find out at the end of this episode, one of his other boys is the one that Marvin shot. So that's going to absolutely have an impact moving forward in terms of what happens in the next couple of episodes. So yeah, definitely first takeaway, Joey Badass did a phenomenal job. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next, moving on from here. The next takeaway, I'm going to agree with a lot of what you said, Gary. Uncle Marvin's character, fantastic. Obviously made a very poor decision to leave Kanan behind. But I did hear a rumor that you and Dana jumped up, especially when you saw Kanan in the stash house, and then all of a sudden somebody just decides to take a shotgun and shoot the door open. I was like, wow, that's yeah, they just jump right into the action.
That was Dana that jumped.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that they were going to try to do something. I didn't know they were going to try and do that, but it just was not a wise decision to leave Kanan behind. But again, yeah. The thing is, a lot of this stuff that y'all mentioned with between the bodega and all the stuff with how he treated Tony, the club owner, all this other stuff, we know that he is a character that already, we know that Raquel, she always is watching him hard and on him harder. So the problem is that, you know, like I said, she told him in this episode, you're going to be the one that is in control of what happens at this bodega. So obviously, now that this stuff is going on, she's going to definitely know that he's going to be looking at him a lot closer, making sure that he's doing what he needs to do. So it's going to make things a little bit tougher from him. I don't really know if she knows yet that him and Kanan are working together. she knows at the end of the episode that Kanan obviously lied about some stuff. You see the blood is on his shirt. But I don't know if she's put those pieces together yet. And speaking of Raquel, this is the third takeaway, because we spoke in the last episode that obviously she is a strategist about how she's thinking about certain things. We saw in this episode how she was already thinking about expanding by getting those apartments in the actual complexes. When she spoke to the owner, and she said, yeah, I need apartments on the 7th and 8th floor, which is probably going to be where she stashes more of the product. But that's funny because, again, a couple of episodes, she was talking with Symphony about this type of stuff, about the projects, about the, buildings and stuff like that. So again, we're starting to see some of this stuff come together in terms of what she's doing. So I'm curious to see what happens, but obviously she didn't account for Kanan getting wrapped up in all this other stuff that's happening now. So we'll see how that situation propels from here on out. But yeah, I thought it was an excellent episode. As y'all said last week, it felt like that was the setup episode, and then we got a whole bunch of action in this episode. And yeah, Gary, you put it best when I spoke to you after this episode, where you felt like it really was starting to get really good towards the end of the episode, and then the episode ends. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what happens next week for sure.
My bad, I was muted. Yeah, definitely. It was a great episode, and by like when it came to the end, I was like, wait, that's it? Like already? It's like wow. But yeah, this one definitely had me glued in, and I can't wait for the next episode. And just to bounce off of something you said, about Raquel, and she was talking to the building manager, in the project building. I kind of feel bad for those residents that he's about to move out of there, like, for no real reason, just so she can have a stash house. Like, I feel bad for those people. But yeah, it is what it is. That's the game. That's the game they're playing. So what's up, Dana?
Didn't that remind you of New Jack City? I remember this distinctly because it traumatized me as a child. My mother took me to see New Jack City as a child. Why, I will never understand. But the fact, remember when they were literally throwing people out of the window in order to get their apartments?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I was slightly confused at. I thought that they were like trying to purchase the apartments, probably illegally. I didn't know there were actual residents still in there. And that gave me I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen to these people? But it is something, that has happened in that time period. And it's what I felt about this also, this show felt like the 90s. It clearly just feels like the 90s, from just how it looks to how they're dressed to the events that's going on. So I really just commend them for just even the smallest details. The thing when they was singing at the mall and the VHS tape and how it just looked on the screen, where is that corny little, special effects thing.
Mm-hmm.
That just felt so much like the 90s. So they do a really good job putting you in that universe. So yay. And also those poor people in the apartments.
Oh yeah, it's so good that if you somehow got a time machine, and you went back to the 90s and took Raising Kanan with you, you would feel like, it's legit.
Mm-hmm.
This was filmed in the 90s kind of thing. It's that good.
They did good. And it doesn't seem so much over the top, because remember going back with Power, and remember that whole Proctor scene with him getting shot up in the penthouse, and we're sitting here and we're like, is this real life right now? So this kind of feels like it's more grounded in that kind of reality of which could happen. I mean, if you start with a big shotgun and an AK-47 in a penthouse with the white people, the cops are going to show up. At least somebody's going to be running out of the building. So yeah, really great job for being just grounded in that realism.
Oh yeah, it definitely feels more realistic, because there were parts of the original Power that felt like set piece action moments sort of thing. But this definitely feels more grounded, like you said. But yeah, so we have some interesting questions here to get to. And Let's see, where should we go first? Um, so one of the moments with Unique in this episode was when he kind of intercepted Davina, and he basically kind of like hinted towards the fact that D Wiz had something to do with Buck's death, and she's talking to Kanan, so he's probably involved in it too. So he was basically playing, he was trying to manipulate her into giving him some information, and obviously he offered to help her with her mother's addiction and everything like that as well, in exchange for the information, and she's the one who ended up telling him the location of the house where she saw Kanan in an earlier episode. So I wanted to ask you guys, like, do you think Kanan will be able to make the connection that she might have told Unique about the stash spot? So go ahead, Dana. You're muted.
Sorry, maybe not now. I don't really see it, because I see that he is kind of so infatuated with her that he's not going to put her and say that she's the one who did it. He's not going to be that analytical with that. I feel that because his love or fascination for her, remember, it was since the first grade or kindergarten. So to see her in that light, I don't think that he's going to do that right now. I was kind of more upset with her because I thought she would be a wee bit smarter than that. I mean, obviously she didn't think that Kanan could be murdered, but the fact that he wanted that specific information, and the fact that he would use those kind of manipulating ways of saying, oh, she killed your boyfriend, well, I thought she would be a wee bit smarter and would catch on to that, but she didn't. And she kind of really let her emotions out there. And here's another thing. I honestly, going back again, I don't believe that is really her sister. What is it, brother, sister in the thing? Her sister. I don't really believe that. Could be, but I'm still kind of like thinking that that's actually her child. But the whole situation, I didn't think that we would find out that her mother was addicted to drugs kind of so late in the episode. I kind of thought that would be included in the whole introduction. Remember the first episode where 50 Cent was narrating and telling everyone who everyone was, that he would have kind of casually dropped that in there, but he didn't.
We did kind of see her mother when she had to fight at the school and she came to take her out, but did she show any signs of being an addict then? I can't really remember.
Not to my knowledge, no.
Right.
Not to my knowledge. I know she was very upset.
Yeah.
But I don't think she wasn't sitting there going like, what's going on? Nothing like that. So no. And the fact that she even showed up to school kind of made me feel that she was still kind of involved in her life. If you're really out there drugging and doing your thing, you're not going to show up. And the school will kind of know that already and kind of label you, especially in that environment, kind of like a lost kid, where you're just heading down that wrong road and don't even think anything of it. But the fact that she actually still showed up, I could not tell. So yeah, I just thought she would be a lot more smarter than how easily she was manipulated or how easily she allowed her emotions to get to her. But this brings up a really interesting point on whether or not she would confront, I'm going to call him 50 Cent, confront Kanan about what was going on. Even if it was like, I don't believe this information, will she still tell him this? And then he'll start to put everything together. So, yeah.
Okay. And what do you think, Rich?
I agree with a lot of what Dana had to say. I don't think she will find out right away that he was involved. I mean, I'm pretty sure she kind of has a hint that he was involved in what happened with D Wiz, but she's trying to wait for him to be the one to tell her that. The thing is that for me, all of this happening is it gives me further explanation as to why everything that Rock was telling Kanan about being careful and stuff like that, why it is important. Because you recall the episode when he saw Davina outside the stash house, just passing by, taking her sister or daughter for a stroll, and then he decides to just go outside the house and just start talking to her. And she even said, "What that looks like a drug, like a stash house, like a crack house." So that's why I said it goes to show, yes, because he did not listen. He doesn't listen to his mom. So it made sense for something like this to happen. And I think that Unique's purpose in all of this is that now he's going to put it in her head that, yes, Kanan is being dishonest. So maybe he's being dishonest about some other things. So that can absolutely cause an issue between them moving forward. It might start off slowly, but it definitely is going to lead to some trust issues moving forward.
Do you think Kanan will know that she was the one to give Unique's people the info?
That's the thing. I'm not 100% sure, because we only saw in this episode what happened in the course of that same day. We didn't see what happened the next day when he goes back to school or anything like that. And the next time he has a interaction with her, because we saw everything that happened before that incident. You know, she told Unique, make sure whatever you do, Kanan doesn't get hurt. That did not happen, because, you know, he got roughed up a little bit when they walked in there. But I kind of feel like we'll probably get that answer the next episode. I'm not 100% sure if he's gonna know she was the one that did that, because they already have been after Kanan. These guys have already been after Kanan, but for them to come to the stash house, yeah, they obviously know some intel that they're not supposed to know. So it's hard for me to determine, but maybe eventually he does find out. We'll have to see if it happens in the next episode, because it's hard to tell, because there wasn't any other interaction between them after everything went down in this episode.
Yeah, I feel like if there's a situation where either Marvin or Rack is mad at Kanan or something and like puts pressure on him and says, look, they must have found out about this spot somehow. Who did you tell about it? You know, if they come to him like that, trying to find out, you know, how they might have, you know, figured out the spot, then that will force Kanan to think about how, you know, ways that they could have figured it out. And then he might remember the conversation he had with Davina.
Well, I do know one person that will know this, and that is the other guy that was there with him when he decided to walk out the house.
Oh yeah, you know? That's another thing, because that made me suspicious of that guy. Like now, because like why wasn't he there? Like,
no, that's a good question. That's a very good question, actually. I didn't think about that. But he definitely knew that Kanan was talking to her outside that stash house. So he can easily say to Marvin or Rock, hey, wait a second, I saw Kanan talking to this girl outside the stash house, and they'd be like, oh, well, then that's how they knew exactly where they was at. So we'll see. But yeah, that character, you're right. You bring up a very good point. He was not there, and he's supposed to be there. So we know that Marvin and Kanan were there specifically to move the product to the bodega. So I guess at that point in time, he didn't need to be there. But yeah, it does raise a question about where exactly was he at that time.
Yeah, because Marvin said he's sick, but I don't know if I believe that. I feel like he might have been up. What's up?
Actually, you know what? Yes. Forget it. Let me take that back again. We do know where he was at. He was there was a scene where he went to go to pick him up, and he was sick. He was on the toilet.
On the toilet. He got the food poisoning.
Really? Okay.
He was got the food poisoning. He was like, I can't go anywhere. He was like, change the drawers.
Exactly.
So
I did want to make sure we mention that, because you know the fans are going to be like, wait a second, y'all didn't catch that. No, we saw it. I saw that. I just had to think about that again. I had to get reminded. So continue.
Yeah, well, one thing for the listeners to know, like, it's not completely fresh in our minds because we saw, you know, the episode like days ago, and then, you know, we record after. But yeah, I do kind of remember that now. But go ahead, Dana.
Go ahead.
I also do not trust the bodega owner.
Yeah.
I don't trust him.
No one trusts him.
He's nosy as all can be.
I mean, look at how he treats his wife. Like, you know.
And also, I mean, you're getting paid a ton of money, and yet you're still questioning what is going on. How is this going to impact the business? So he gonna have to get dealt with at some point.
He probably has Omar Epps on the line right now. Calling.
Yeah. We'll
Which
see how that goes.
then, interesting, random thought. I wonder, will we now see in the next episode Omar Epps? Because technically, you
Yeah.
have that whole murder, you have that whole situation with the car, you know. So I just wonder if he will be involved in that as well. And then you have that nosy training day lady. So I wonder how they will come into play and if it will focus on what happened.
Oh yeah,
we didn't see them in this episode.
No,
so
we
I'm
didn't.
Sure,
So like next
I'm sure they'll
episode.
return.
and you saw that the people in Unique's gang was questioning his relationship with Omar Epps' character as well. And you heard him say in this episode, "I don't care about that guy. We're just using him the same way to get what we want out of the deal." So you'll definitely see him in the next episode because things are going to start to heat up now between Unique and Rock's crew. Now that another person in his gang is killed. So,
and the fact that Omar Epps' character, whose name I can't remember because I can't remember anything, is dying, and so he's going to have that extra, gun ho spirit of wanting to do everything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. But let's fit in some more questions here. So I wanted to ask, this is a bit of an obvious question after the way the episode ended, but what do you think Raquel will do after finding, Kanan's bloody shirt? Like, how do you think she's going to react? What might her next move be? It's hard to kind of predict what she's going to do because she's so calculated, but like, what do you think might happen next now that she, kind of found the shirt and she knows that she's gonna know that somebody hit the spot and there's some money missing. If Marvin were to keep that from her, then they're gonna have some problems later. So she's probably gonna find out about that situation, and the fact that Kanan has a bloody shirt, and that he was usually at that stash house. She's gonna make the connection, So if Kanan doesn't tell her outright what happened, then she's gonna find out anyway. So I want to ask you guys what you think her reaction to this is going to be. So go ahead first, Rich. What do you think?
Well, I think we will get an answer to this in the trailer. Obviously, we didn't see the preview for the next episode yet. It'll be out at some point tonight when the episode actually airs on the app. I think she will probably grill Kanan, to try to get this answer from him directly. But eventually she is going to have a talk with Marvin. The thing is that they've already alluded to the fact that she doesn't entirely question. She always questions Marvin and whether or not he's serious and focused on when he needs to be focused. The thing is that because of this whole thing happening with the stash house, it's going to make him look bad because it's going to make it look as though he lost the other half of that of the product, even though this was totally something that was retaliation from Unique. But it still makes him look bad because he's the one that's supposed to be in charge of making sure everything is on the up and up with the bodega. So it's going to still make him look like he didn't do what he needed to do. But again, they haven't been really forthright and honest with Raquel about what's going on with him and Kanan. So I kind of feel like, I don't know if they're going to immediately answer that question in the next episode, but I kind of feel like she's going to definitely be harder on Kanan now to find out what is going on. And also, just to add on to a little bit more to that, Raquel wasn't honest with Kanan either about who the teacher is that is in this class that he is involved in now either. So clearly, not entirely honest on both accounts, but in this situation here, definitely hasn't been honest about what he's doing with Marvin. So she's going to definitely look at Marvin a lot closer. I don't know if she's going to outright talk with Marvin in the next episode about this. I kind of feel like he's going to need to talk to her anyway to explain what happened. But she's definitely, I think it's going to start with definitely grilling Kanan, since they have the closest relationship. That's the closest relation between those two characters. So she's probably going to be hard on him to get an answer out of him. And we'll see what happens from there. But she is going to confront Marvin at some point, I feel, in the next episode.
Yeah, I feel like if it's a situation where Marvin gets to talk to Raquel before Kanan, I feel like Marvin will cover for Kanan or something. You know, like I think he'll back him up so that he doesn't take too much heat. But yeah, I guess we gotta see how it unfolds. But Dana, what would you think? Like, how do you think Raquel might react to this whole thing?
See, what I love about Raquel is that she's not someone who's loud and brass. So, say, unlike a Monique who's always yelling and screaming and barking things at people, I feel that she is someone who will use that quiet manipulation to find out what's really going on and probably use Kanan because she knows that Kanan, compared to Marvin, would be the weaker of the two, because he's so young and, a mother knows his son and she knows how to get in there and probably get him to crack. So I do feel that she will use whatever kind of quiet tactic or psychological warfare against her son in order to get what really happened. I also don't think she's stupid. She probably, when she looked at that shirt, she can put two and two together. She can, something bloody happened, something happened. We know that Uncle Marvin and everyone, the people who I had in charge, were involved. My stuff is missing. So it's not going to be that hard to put everything together. But when it comes to finding all of the answers, she's going to just find a way to carefully manipulate Kanan. And Kanan's smart too. So I do see this being as like a battle of trying to outwit each other. But eventually I do see him falling. I don't see Marvin falling that fast compared to him.
Oh yeah, and we saw a lot of that in this episode with Kanan and Rack trying to outwit each other. Like they were really clashing in this episode a lot, and that kind of ties into the next question, the final question as well. So we see that Kanan took his time to cook for his mother and everything, and then she had already eaten. She came home with Symphony. And they kind of had to pretend to to be hungry and everything, but Kanan wasn't feeling it at all. His vibe was off. He was mad. He was angry at his mom, and and then his grades has been slipping. So she's kind of booked some after school programs for him, and she's taking him off the stash house. So he wasn't supposed to be there, of course. And at the end of the episode, he shows up to one of the after school programs or whatever, only to find out Symphony is the teacher of the class. So I want to ask you guys, like, is this part of her strategy, or do you really think that maybe Raquel feels that Symphony is going to be a good role model for Kanan to follow? Because he doesn't have a lot of like straight and narrow role models in his life, right? So do you think that that's part of it also, or is she just being calculative at this moment? So I want to ask you first, Dana, what do you think of that?
I honestly don't know, because I would have easily said that this was the whole payback thing for everything that you kind of put me through, because we do know that there's a power struggle, and every time there's like a man or a woman or something in the house, that creates a new territory dynamic, and kids especially are going to struggle with that. So from that standpoint, I can say like, oh, she really was trying to get back at him, and it was a really hilarious moment either way. But I never thought of it being as he is technically a positive male role model. He's educated. He didn't go down fully that life of the drug thing. He's kind of clean. He's way too young, but he is at that age where, Kanan can kind of relate more to him. I don't see that ever happening. Kanan is not going to start being super friends with Symphony at all. But I thought it was just a hilarious moment. But I honestly cannot tell whether or not she was trying to make, put that hard lesson towards him, or was just genuinely saying, you have to accept him now. Either way, it just came out really funny. But I don't know who was like, here's a positive role model. Although it would work either way. Here's a positive role model, and see how you still can't get rid of him no matter where you go.
Yeah. And I have to commend Kanan's actor, what's his name? Something Curtis, Malik Curtis or something, or
Makai Curtis.
Makai Curtis. I have to commend him because he is a great expressive actor. Like the facial, facial like animations he makes and everything, the expressions, like amazing. He does a great job with that. Like, you can see he's really annoyed, like the character and everything. So yeah, he does a great job with that. But Rich, what do you think of that? Does Raquel think that Symphony might be a positive role model for Kanan, or is she just being manipulative, by having him go to Symphony's class?
Oh no, I think she actually does think that he can be a positive role model. And this is a very slick question for you to ask, Gary, because a couple of weeks ago, maybe about 2 weeks ago, we saw that on, I believe it was the Raising Kanan Instagram account, that they started filming season 2. And who was in the picture of season 2? Symphony, Raquel, and Kanan. So that lets me know that they probably are going to at some point bond. At least for now. It's not going to go off the rails completely because he's still around at the start of season 2. So I think, yeah, she wants him to be considered a positive role model. It is a little bit of manipulation in there as well to try to get Kanan to be steered in a different direction. Because, I mean, she's the one that set up those classes for him because she wants him to continue to focus on school regardless of what's happening. Yeah, I kind of feel like for now, we already know she obviously likes Symphony. They have a conversation towards the end of this episode where she says, I want you to like Symphony and give him a chance. So I think she genuinely does like this guy a lot, wants this to be something. So we'll see where things go from here. But I do believe she wants him to be considered a positive role model for Kanan because he has a lot of other people around him that may not be necessarily positive because they're into some pretty questionable things. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, great points overall. I do think it's a bit of both also. Like, I think, she is trying to teach him a lesson, but also this is a good role model for him. So, yeah, I think, it's a bit of both, but a good bit of dialogue there. But was there anything else at all that you guys wanted to bring up, either about this episode or what you think is going to happen next? Anything at all?
Because the ball bounce shouldn't affect your.
Dana, you got something?
I guess not.
Oh, am I muted?
No, you're good now. You're good now.
Okay, yay. No, there was that whole dynamic thing about I just like overall the whole just again to go back to the two girls, the whole, you kind of saw the softer side of Jukebox. Remember the whole situation with her stealing, and remember the guy who caught her and was like, "Are we even?" Because I really thought the cops was going to be called at that moment. So you're going to have that. You have the dynamic with the girlfriend with like her saying, I want you to look a certain way, and it shows the class system between the two, how she can steal the merchandise, but she will be questioned for wearing it because how dare you wear something that's that expensive? But no one would bat an eye to the white girl wearing it, even though it's stolen, because it's something that, oh yeah, you can afford. So you have that whole dynamic, and then you have their relationship, which is overall in general, as I said before, I really like what they're doing with this, but it also terrifies me. I like the whole opening with the whole Joey badass, and I really thought that it was an insight to just him in general by saying he'll kill anyone who gets in his way. Not even to offer help to his friend who he killed, like say, hey, let's try rehab or something. But no, he just killed him right there. Like, oh, you betrayed my trust and you're dead. So I think that could be like a foreshadowing of what we see coming up in the upcoming episodes. Because if he's willing to do that to his best friend, I'm pretty sure he's willing to do that to anybody in the show, no matter what. So I really liked how they put that kind of mindset out there. So just overall, this just seems to be getting better and better. And I really look forward to what is happening in the next episode.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm going to have a question after you.
Okay, yeah. In the case of Unique, I really do like that. We're seeing more of the character under pressure now, because like in the previous episodes, like we saw him and he had this kind of mystique to him, but like now we're seeing beyond that mystique and we're seeing him under pressure. When things are a bit uncertain and things are not so not so good for him. Like so. I like that we got to see that side of him, how he acts under pressure and stuff. So yeah, that was cool to see. But go ahead, Rich. What was you gonna say?
So I will just make this comment. I know that Unique's probably gave the orders to focus on getting the product and break into the stash house, get the product, and get out of there. I will, however, say though, they had Kanan at gunpoint. No one would have thought to send a message by, I don't know, shooting him to some extent, because the thing is that you want to send a message to them. Now you give them a chance to retaliate because you didn't really do, you stole the product, yes, but nobody was actually injured or killed in this exchange. So now you're giving them an opportunity to retaliate. So I would have said, yeah, well, actually, I take that back, because Unique's boy got killed. But this is the point that I'm saying, is that I would have thought they would have at least tried to shoot Kanan or Marvin, do something to really, because they're going to come after you now, 100%. But I guess we'll get answers for that in the next episode.
Yeah, I think Unique's perspective on that was because if you remember, after he shot his guy, he was like, this has got Raquel's fingerprints all over it.
Yep.
And he was kind of like deciding how to handle it. And he said something along the lines of, I'm gonna take some jabs at her or something. Like he said, he's gonna do something like, but on a small scale, like he wasn't really trying to go hard at her. But if Kanan was to have been killed, I don't think Unique would have cared, because they already had that conversation prior that, if somebody feels a way about Kanan and they want to get back at him, then that's what's going to happen. But I feel like he wasn't specifically trying to get Kanan killed with this move, but if it would have happened, then that's what it would have been, I guess. But yeah, I think mostly Unique just wanted to mess with Rack to send her a message, because he knows that she kind of did something to him. So.
And I'm sure he did not expect Marvin to react the way that he did, coming after them. So, and the fact that his boy got killed, we know Unique is not going to be happy next episode.
Yeah, it's only going to escalate from here, like, because Marvin is going to be mad, Raquel's going to be mad, Unique is still mad, and his guy died. So, yeah, it's only going to escalate now.
Mm-hmm.
So, the only thing that can die it down is maybe Howard if he intervenes, but we'll have to see about that, because he has his own, motives and agendas. So.
But does anyone really take Howard seriously? Or they just entertain him? It's not like, oh, we fear Howard. It's just like, oh yeah, he's there.
Yeah, no one fears him, but police have power. So.
Yeah, but remember that whole monologue that he was doing in the car
last episode. Mm-hmm.
And the last episode. I think that he's the only one who feels that way.
Yeah.
I don't think that anyone else kind of feels that way towards him at all.
Oh no, Raquel definitely doesn't. She doesn't fear him. I think she could run circles around him psychologically. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Unique probably can too. So we'll see. But yeah, anything else you wanted to get out there before we end off the show?
I just want to say, no, I thought it was an excellent episode. Joey Badass did an excellent job. Marvin, we got to see more of him take action, as you said. So yeah, it was a perfect episode, I think, as far as moving the storyline forward, and I look forward to seeing what happens next week.
I agree. Great episode. This was my favorite episode yet. So, that's saying something. But they've all been really good. So, thumbs up for the Stars Power Team on this one. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that is going to be it for this week. I do want to, give a shout out to all the people who listen, leave comments, all the people who hit the like button, because that is very important. If you enjoy this show, please take the time to hit the like button on YouTube. And if you're listening on Spotify or or on the website, you can also drop us a comment on social media as well. You can drop it to at the Koalition or at Gary Swaby or at Rich Bailey Jr. or at Sage Surge. Is it your Twitter handle? For Dana. All of our information is on the screen right now, so just hop over to YouTube. You'll see our social media. Just drop us some thoughts. Let us know what you think, even if you're listening on to the audio only version. And I also want to give a shout outs to Anna, because she actually sent some feedback on the show. She said, it's great. She said she agrees with Dana most of the time. So, you got a little, you got a fan there, Dana. But she also wanted to state that there is a Snapple in the UK. So I think she's trying to get Dana to come to the UK or something. So,
I'm muted. You have to buy a Snapple, and then you open it, and you look at the cap, and it's Snap Effects, and boom.
Okay.
See?
All right. I guess I'll have to go. I've never seen one. I live in a very slow part of town, so. I live just outside of London. It's very slow where I am, so I didn't know these things existed in the UK. But fair enough.
There's also cars. No more horse and buggy.
Really?
Car. Yeah.
I only ever see horses, and
Gotta upgrade now.
Horses and cattle. That's all I see. But yeah, big shouts to all of the supporters and everything like that. Do you have any shout outs, Dana?
Shout outs to everyone who is listening. Thank you for that. We're working on getting an interview with Akeem Black, and Akeem Black plays Trez G. So we're working on getting that interview. So nice. Fingers crossed, and we will have more, obviously, every week. We talk about the power, and I will see what else I can do in terms of interviews with that may be possible to be coming up. So yay.
Awesome. And shouts to you as well with all the interviews, because I know you have some big stuff coming up too. So
we have big stuff. We just got Shang-Chi. I don't know why I call it Chai. Shang-Chi. We have Free Guy. That's also coming up as well. We did the whole cast. So it's wonderful and lovely. And we have that. And we have Suicide Squad, which will be dropping weekly. We have interviews with that. That was a movie. That was an experience. Yeah.
And we do have a review of that movie coming up very soon. Also, it might be out by the time people see this. I don't know, but look out for that too if you have seen Suicide Squad. And Rich, any shout outs from you?
Well, I just want to thank everybody for their continued support, checking out the content. Not just this show, but all the content that we have on the YouTube, as far as the website, Daily Motion, etc. Thank you for your continued support. We very much appreciate it, and we look forward to coming back and talking about more shows, more episodes in the future.
Cool. All right, so yeah, that will be it. We will return next week to recap episode 5, and take care of yourselves until then. I don't know what the pandemic situation is like where you are, but just make sure you move carefully, and don't act like you're invincible, because some people out there feel like they wasn't gonna end up in the hospital, but they did. So I just want to send that caution out there to people, to just be safe. So and we will see you next week. So peace out.